Hello, I am Vici Jagannathan. I am one of the co-founders of Rural Opportunity Institute, and I am excited to share with you a little bit of what our revamped theory of change looks like, and just wanted to walk you through a little bit about our process, how we got to this, and what we're hoping to do with it. So, as you may know, ROI actually started in 2017 with the mission of trying to understand how to support rural Eastern North Carolina, and specifically kind of the Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson County region to heal from trauma and interrupt some of the general cycles that had been occurring due to history, racism, poverty, as well as natural disasters and impacts like hurricanes and things like that. Over that 5 year process, we convened over 300 community members to build a systems map that helped us understand all the different ways that trauma was showing up in our community, as well as the forces that we could enhance in order to provide healing, and then worked with everyone to implement a number of pilots and programs that get at helping to make us a more trauma informed and healing community. And so that includes training thousands of people in a 2 day Reconnect for Resilience curriculum, certifying over 20 of our community members to be trainers, um, piloting 2 years of a program called the Resilient Leaders Initiative, where we worked with 10 longstanding agencies in the community to design and pilot new healing practices that better support the people they serve to heal from trauma. We did a ton of work with the school system and others around testing out something called biofeedback breathing. And we basically have seen some really great results, but are starting to think about what is the next level. And so what we did this past year was partner with a group called SVT Ventures. They are an awesome consulting firm that supports nonprofits and social enterprises with better measuring their impact, better aligning strategy. And we had the great privilege of working with them to create a updated theory of change that will drive our work and impact for at least the next 5 years. So with that, I want to just walk you through this document so you can get a sense for what it is. So this here is actually our theory of change, and I'll kind of go through each part individually. We also have a kind of abridged summary version, as well as a zoomed in section on just our social innovation approach. So to start, basically the goal of this document is to help outline what ROI's mission is, and on the other side, what our long-term impact is, and then kind of in between, how do we get there? What are the strategies we might follow to get to this impact? And what are the results along the way that we hope to see that'll tell us we're on the right track? And then what we'll do is go through all of the programs and activities that we're doing and align them, make sure that they are most effectively driving towards the impact we want to see. Um, we can design better measurement and evaluation tools to help us collect the data that'll tell us if we're on track with these near and midterm results. And as we evaluate new opportunities, kind of use this as a guiding document to say, okay, this is a great opportunity. Does it align with the impact we want to have? And so this is really designed to help us focus. And then, I mean, in our hope, 10x, 100x, the impact that we're able to have in alignment with what all of our community members and partners have shared. So this document was also built in collaboration with many of our community partners. We held several workshops with our internal team facilitated by SVT, as well as several opportunities for our community accountability board and other community partners to provide feedback and contribute to the various things here. A lot of things here also draw from the original systems mapping process. So rather than completely deviating, we're just going deeper. And so with that, I'll just walk you through some sections. So to start, this right here is our mission. And basically, it's an update from before, but we seek to support critically under-resourced youth organizations and communities in rural North Carolina to interrupt the cycle of generational trauma and design innovative solutions for healing and resilience. And then I'm actually going to pop over to the end, and then we'll fill in the middle. And so in the end here, you see, okay, what is the impact that'll happen if we're successful at our mission? And we were able to get this down to 5 key things. The first is generational healing. And essentially that means that the new trauma-informed practices and actions we are taking lead to long-lasting changes in the outcomes that people experience, both across health, education, and economic opportunity. And we know from the science around adverse childhood experiences and trauma that these things are directly impacted. And so if we can do this work correctly, we will see, hopefully, a total shift generationally in our community's outcomes. We're aiming for community self-determination, and that means that we as ROI do not intend to ever be the sort of owners and drivers of the change we want to see. We are interested in building the capacity of our community to have the tools, the knowledge, and resources to unlock their own potential. We know that Eastern North Carolina is full of assets, some of the most talented, driven, resilient, strong people who have been doing this for a long time. And our goal is to just continue to support and unlock that potential, so that our community can be on the front line of creating solutions for whatever challenges they seek to address. We want to see just policies and institutions. We know that the trauma and the struggles that we see in our community are due to generations of injustice that are rooted in systems and policies that were intentionally constructed for oppression. And with this work, we're looking to intentionally dismantle and realign a lot of those policies and institutions so that instead of leading to suffering, they support healing and connection and thriving. We want to see growth in rural innovation for a long time. Most of the time, rural communities like ours look to urban places for the insight and the inspiration and the resources to address core challenges. But the reality is that we have a ton of assets and we have a unique context that only we understand. And not only that, a lot of times the challenges that everyone will face address us or impact us first and worst. We see natural disasters first. We often have struggles in education and with resource shortages before a lot of other parts of the country, but eventually that stuff will hit everyone. And so if we can shift the direction of innovation so that we are able to incubate our own solutions here and then share what we're learning with everyone else, we can sort of become the experts on those frontline challenges and allow other communities to learn from us before those things impact them. And finally, we want to see structural social change. Although we are incubated and based in rural Eastern North Carolina, and that is our home, we know that lots of other communities face the same challenges, like I was saying before. And so the goal here is that the approaches that we take here, eventually we would like to share and distribute widely so that it can inform broader, policy in other communities or potentially state, national, and broader changes so that ultimately, as a whole, we see a more trauma-informed and just system. A lot of this was driven by our community board, our community partners. We know it's bold and ambitious, and we also really believe that we can get there. And to give you a little bit of a sense of how we do that, these are some of the key strategies we'll employ, and we've been doing a lot of this now. We just want to make it really explicit. So we really believe in equipping communities. Like I said, we don't plan to do the work ourselves. We want to get the money, get the inspiration, get the support, and pour it behind the leaders that have already been doing great work for a long time. Through that, we hope to create effective solutions. So a lot of times the things that we implement, we think they're going to work, but after a while we find out actually that they didn't do anything, or maybe they didn't work quite as we wanted. So we use tools like design thinking, systems thinking, listening and understanding community members' needs, and then carefully working to test solutions, make sure they work before we scale them up. We believe in exchanging and building knowledge. So carefully documenting everything we're doing, both what works and what doesn't, and then being sure to share the lessons we learn with others so that we're not reinventing the wheel and we're also not withholding anything. We believe in transparency, and what that means is measuring and reporting the results that we come up with openly, and then creating structures and procedures for us to be held accountable to the community and to consistently seek their input on decisions. And so one way we've been able to do this so far is our community accountability board that is nominated by the community, represents a lot of different sectors, and kind of holds us accountable. And our hope is to continue to build that type of practice into more of what we're doing. And finally, we as an organization want to practice what we preach. And so we internally at ROI work really hard to embed healing and restorative practices ourselves in the work that we do, and as a result can help us be a role model for others, by being at the cutting edge of adopting everything that we think should work. And through those strategies, these are some of the results we hope to see. And you may recognize this learn, heal, and connect from our systems mapping process. These were the 3 areas of our strategy the community named as what we needed to address to be high leverage in seeing the outcomes we want. So we've really just expounded upon this based on everything we've learned. And so I won't go through all these, but you can kind of see, we're talking about increased awareness of trauma, people being more open to new ideas, developing collective knowledge, and what that should lead to, this increased knowledge should lead to a demand for more restorative and healing solutions. And so that could mean community members practicing healing responses with themselves, institutions beginning to reframe systemic issues, and rather than blaming individuals for their trauma, starting to understand that it's more about what happened to them and how can they provide support. And then, starting to see better results when people actually get the opportunity to heal rather than being consistently punished. And what that hopefully will lead to is increased connection, both relationships between people and also people's connection to additional opportunity, school, work, wealth building. And so we expect to see an increase in peer support, those who have experienced trauma more often being in the position to support and provide healing for others. Community members earning more money as they grow their skills and get connected to opportunities after, as they're on their recovery journey. And ultimately, people's trust and collaboration with public institutions improving. Because for so long, institutions have not been able to serve people because they haven't been implementing trauma-informed practices. But if we can shift that dynamic so that they are more compassionate and more healing, hopefully that rebuilds some of the trust and ultimately brings our community closer together. In the longer term, these are some of the outcomes that we see that kind of tell us we're on the right track. Community members redefining challenges and having resources to drive their own solutions, actual policy change in public institutions and businesses. So not just one-off programs that people run and then they change their job and it goes away, but we actually see institutionalized examples where these things are being codified and held forward. Policy that's informed by local needs and supports those who are most underserved. Oftentimes, we see policy as a means for dividing people, and we want to see policy that truly meets the needs of the people who most need support. And then here, increased access to insights and tools for leaders both in our community and in others who deal with similar problems, and a greater respect for rural innovation that kind of equalizes us with urban innovation and creates a more equal exchange of knowledge. And ultimately, those things will indicate that we are on the path towards the long-term impact that I described earlier, and that sort of drives us towards our mission. So that's essentially the full document. You can obviously dive in here deeper. This is just a summary. It isn't anything new, but it's a little bit more digestible and can kind of be shared, in a more quick setting. And then finally, as part of this, we realize that it's not just the strategies and outcomes and results that are unique about how we're doing this, but in everything we do, we're really interested in taking a specific social innovation approach that leads to different outcomes that are more aligned with community needs than what a lot of nonprofits typically do. And so we just put this down here. And basically what this means is that in any program or project we undertake, we want to make sure to go through these steps. And by doing so, that'll kind of lead us to achieve these results and outcomes. And so really quickly, the way we think about this is whenever we encounter a new problem or challenge, we start by listening to people and engaging deeply with the community members who are experiencing that problem before we jump to our own solutions. And so this can look like empathy interviewing or other types of sort of design methodologies that we've already implemented in our past programming. Once we do that, we also know that there are other communities, other places that do have cutting edge insight that's relevant. And a lot of times that stuff doesn't make it to our rural community leaders who have their own deep local knowledge. So we think the best solutions come when we smash those worlds together. We connect the cutting edge best practices that are already out there with those who already have deep local knowledge and context so that they can adapt and create something that works better than any of those things would have on their own. We then work with existing agencies and leaders to test these possible ideas and collect data to learn what did and didn't work. So before we jump to scaling something up, let's do real small tests to see what is and isn't working and what makes sense to take forward. Once we arrive at successful solutions, we really want to figure out how to embed those into institutions and policies so that the impact isn't short-lived, but is sustainable and lasts well beyond any of the individuals who actually created it. Kind of throughout this process, we want to make sure to embed structures and procedures that ensure transparency and representation so that at all times, the original people that we listen to and engage with continue to be involved in informing and making sure that these practices are meeting their needs and adapting even as context changes. A lot of times we get input once, we do something, and then we keep changing it, and we say, oh yeah, that started with community input. But this is more like continuously ensuring that we're keeping that loop going and getting more and more input as things evolve. And finally, we want to make sure that we are sharing insights, because we as a frontline community have a ton that we can learn if we work to pilot solutions to our most difficult problems here. And ultimately, we can be the leaders in helping other communities address those as well, and really tackling some of our most challenging, pressing problems, such as unaddressed trauma. And so we work really diligently to document what works and share the insights that we are learning with others. So that's where we're headed. Would love to engage with anyone who has questions, or has ways that you can plug in or support any of these areas. We are continuing to go deep on partnering with local leaders and agencies to work through this process. And so really interested in any additional expertise that we can plug in. Thank you so much, as always, for your support and collaboration with us.